right, well, Jim Hartman here. June Welcome to this episode of June of Ask the Beekeeper. Thanks for joining me. It's been a busy month. It's getting hot. The One of the things I've learned this month and learned to appreciate it anyway is extra help. I've got two folks working for me now. And I'm amazed by how much more work we can get done in a time frame than when it was just me, or even me and just one other guy. The third person added so much, and that is a blessing because it's so hot. We could finish up by 2 o'clock in the afternoon and call it a day before it gets stupid. So I'm really thankful for the folks that are working with me. It's a big deal. Well, at the end of May, we harvested the spring harvest. It was a good harvest. A little less than I had hoped because I misjudged it by a few days and it started raining for 4 days straight, and the bees ate a lot of the honey that I would have liked to have taken. I think it cost me about 500 pounds. We still came in and close to 2,000 pounds, so not bad. We put the honey supers back on, which is something we normally don't do. Normally, I put empty honey supers on and I feed the bees and let them draw out wax, but we've got a pretty good supply, so we went ahead and put those honey supers back on top. And I'm surprised. About half the hives are bringing honey in. It's taking them forever to turn it into honey because it's so humid, but they're filling the supers with excess. I'm really surprised. I haven't had to feed very much at all this year on any hives other than the nuke yard. We finished up our splits for going into the winter. We're trying to get those guys into double deeps before the winter, so we keep feeding them. We've lost a couple of the nukes. It happens, especially with all the rain we've had. We got two of them got slimed by hive beetles, which I despise those little boogers. So it's been a big deal. It's been a busy month. So speaking of busy month, one of the things that you might want to check out, we did an interview on the Beekeeping Today podcast, and I put the link over in the comments, where we talked about being an agripreneur. Very applicable to farmers, no matter what type you are, beekeeping or whatever. And some of the different programs and things we've done that have helped my farm. It might be worth your time to listen. Other big things that I'm super excited about. We continue to march down my grand plan of infrastructure. We built the warehouse over the winter, and then frankly it took all my money, and so I had to go out and sell some more honey. And we saved up enough that I can build an overhang on the back. So we put in a 15 by 45 foot overhang so I can park equipment under, get it out of the rain, get the forklift, the tractor, and other stuff out of the rain so it'll last longer. And then we poured a smaller slab on the side of the warehouse and moved a 20-foot container and a couple of tricons down there. But more importantly, I finally get to put the two walk-in coolers that I've had since last fall from government surplus down there and get those into operation. So those are going to get hooked up next week. That's going to be nice. Now you may be asking yourself, why does a beekeeper need walk-in coolers? Well, so honey supers and drawn comb it's like gold. They put the honey in it, we take the honey out, and you can reuse it over and over and over again. And if it gets destroyed, they spend all their energy making more comb, and we don't make nearly as much money off of honey. But wax moths like to move in there and eat it, destroy it. And we tried a lot of things, but one day I saw a Bob Benny video, and Bob Benny's a great guy if you're a beekeeper to watch, where he said he puts all his supers in a cooler because wax moths and other pests can't live at that temperature. And I said, it's genius. Now I don't have to think about chemicals. I don't have to think about where these things are stored. I've got to be checking them all the time. Let's put them in the cooler. So I've got a kind of a makeshift cooler right now with a cool bot, an insulated container that I made, and it works. But these big walk-in coolers are going to be great. Now on that same piece, those were government surplus. We got those, and if you all have been around me, you know I get a lot of it. You just kind of have to stalk what you're looking for and be patient. So that's why I picked those up last fall when I saw them, and I've been sitting on them since then until I could actually deploy them. Other fun stuff on that particular note, I just got allocated another John Deere Gator out of Fort Hood. I really got it for the roof because I'm tired of my wife's Gator being wet all the time, and she deserves a roof. So I figure if the thing shows up and the engine's blown, I can still salvage the roof, and I'll put it on one of my existing ones, and I'm still a win. I also requested a tractor from Fort Hood that we'll wait and see next week if I got. Who knows? That's an interesting system. You got to find the stuff, ask for it. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. It depends on whether there's someone whose higher priority comes in and takes it. A good example of that is I did not get allocated the 250-gallon fuel tank I wanted, so I could stop filling up 5-gallon fuel containers of diesel all the time. But one will come up eventually. Okay. So, I mentioned I put the honey supers back on. They're about half the hives are bringing nectar in, and really more importantly, I've got a site last year that I didn't have honey supers on during the summer that the bees brought in purple honey, but it was in the brood chamber. And we put the honey supers back on those, and 3 of those hives were starting to fill, and I think at least one of them is going to have purple honey in it. So that's going to be pretty cool. Yep. Michael, you're asking me what program am I using for the government surplus items? So the 2018 Veterans Small Business Enhancement Act allows veteran-owned small businesses to get government surplus directly from the government before it goes to auction. So once you get if you're a veteran and you get certified as a veteran-owned small business, you can get access to a website called ppms.gov. And that's where the government posts all of their federal property for other federal and state agencies to get it before it goes over to like GovDeals or GovPlaneteer and that stuff. So we get it through that program. We have to pay a small service charge, but we get a lot of equipment in there. It's never perfect. It's never exactly what I need, but it's good enough. So that's where we get that at. Other things that are going on, we got my 17-year-old daughter more involved in the farm. She's now making our candles and lip balm. We've got that recipe perfected, and clamshells, for like Scentsy stuff. We've got all that perfected, got all the items in, got all of our supplies and melting pots and things like that. So that's going to give me an opportunity to, one, use the beeswax I've got, and then two, show my daughter a way to become part of the farm. And I think the next generation, it's important because a lot of farmers, we don't think through that sometimes. I'm excited for that. Plus, her candles are super good. They sell like a champ. Let's see. I've got a list over here. Excuse me. Of stuff I still want in terms of equipment that I don't have. Well, one of the things I ordered, I got a grant from Farmer Veteran Coalition to help me with that candle thing. I ordered a wax processing boiler, so it'll process out those cappings and then produce clean wax, so we can make candles and things with it. I'm waiting for that guy to come up. I'm actively hunting on the government surplus for a fuel tank. DC Rogers, you were asking me to post the website. I'm going to put it on here. It's ppms.gov, but it's a restricted website that you can't get access to until you're approved. And the program we use is the Veterans Small Business Enhancement Act. If you Google that, it comes right up. The key is to get certified as a veteran-owned small business, and there's not a lot of folks who are doing that in farming. I'll tell you, Nationwide, there are less than 1,000 veteran-owned businesses that have signed up to use that government surplus program. So it's ridiculously underutilized. Highly encourage you to do it.
Don't we have YouTube videos showing how to use the site once you do get access to it?
Yes, we did do some YouTube videos on the old system, but it's very similar to the same thing. So we're gonna get through this month. We're gonna, we're doing some construction. We're still checking the hives. I've got a couple more splits I'm gonna do, mostly with some hives that are problematic, and I just want to split some of them out and requeen them anyway. And then we won't be doing any of that anymore because it's just gonna be too late. Because I know it's mid-June, but for me, winter is here. If I don't stop now, those hives won't be strong enough to get through the winter for me. Swarm season's pretty much over too, so we haven't seen any swarms lately at all. I like that because my hives also aren't swarming out. That makes my job easier. And that's the big stuff going on. I'm blessed this year that I invested over the winter in lots of supers that we put together and painted, so I'm not having to mess with that right now. This frees up time for me to do some of my honeydews for my wife. She's been actively buying antique furniture and other things that need a lot of repair. So this is an opportunity for me to catch up on those things and make my wife happy.
And make the chicken coop bigger.
My wife also, if you didn't hear that, she wants the chicken coop bigger. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure how high that is on my list, but we'll see what we can do. And of course, we've got 50 ducks that she's hatched out that are roaming gleefully all over the property right now after these rains we've had. But that's what's going on right now.
Pears.
Oh yeah, we're also picking pears right now. Our pears came in. It's time to pick them. We pick them. We put them in that handy walk-in cooler until for a day or two, and then we juice them, and that's we start making jelly. We freeze our juice after we make it in gallon containers in a deep freeze, so we can make jelly all year long without that going bad. So, yeah, my electric bill on our jelly kitchen is probably going to be ridiculous right now because the juicing process consumes a tremendous amount of electricity, and I'm just glad I don't have to do it though because it's hot in there.
4 hours per batch.
4 hours per batch, and my poor wife is just soaked to the bone when she's done. That's the big stuff going on. If we're going to move on into July, and just keep driving on. I've got a few volunteers coming out in July who are going to work with us for a little bit, and other than that, we're trying to work through just finishing up. My big push is paperwork. Believe it or not, this is a good time to do it. We're trying to get NRCS to actually look at the conservation practices I've applied for. I found NRCS to be a real challenge with, if it's not the things they do every single day, it's hard for me to get them to think it differently and actually do the rest of their programs they need. So I got to keep pushing them on that because I want to institute some other eco-friendly things that we can do here on the farm. And then we're also trying to find some new markets to sell our stuff at. We do really well with some grocery stores, and I'm looking into some other avenues to sell our honey and jelly and other products, and we're making some progress on that. Universities, believe it or not, never even occurred to me that universities have a convenience store. So seems to be coming along. By the way, it takes about 5 months to add a grocery store chain. Best case, 5 months. Grocery store chain, universities are no different. That's a 5 or 6 month process. So it's good that I've started now because I want to have my honey back on the shelves in their grocery stores when students go in for the fall and need some help with their allergies. Mario, you're asking me how do I care for the hives with this intense heat. So what we will do in a lot of them is we use migratory lids, and so we'll pop the bag lid open and kind of slide it forward so there's like a half-inch ventilation on the top. The bees like that because it lets the heat out. So that seems to work well. A lot of people will use popsicle sticks for that same thing. They'll stick a popsicle stick in the back. Uh, so other than that, though, the bees they do really well. The real problem is the rain. It's so humid that it's hard for them to cool themselves off. I'd rather have it dry and hot than humid and hot. Uh, but other than that, we don't have to do a whole lot. We do need to check really, really well during this time of year in the nuke yard. Because with this heat and humidity, the hive beetles will move in on those nukes. And that's something we really have to be aware of. And we got to be aware on our feed when we feed them like this when it's this hot and humid because it's hard that feed starts to go bad. That's the big stuff. And if you're a beekeeper, make sure you're thinking about your mite plan right now. We're using Viroxan this summer. First year I've been able to use that. It's a new product. That's a long duration oxalic acid FDA approved solution. You just put these strips into the hive and it provides 90 days of treatment with just oxalic acid, which is an all natural acid, which I like. And it's relatively affordable, so I'm super excited to be able to do that during the hot periods because other than that, your treatment periods in the summer when it's really hot for varroa mites is pretty limited. We're treating, in case you're curious, we're treating for hive beetles with peppermints. Like, no kidding, the ones your grandpa used to hand out, peppermints. They seem to work really well on the hive beetles. Who knew? So, all right, well, I appreciate you all tuning in, and it's a hot evening. We finished up early, and I'm going to relax for the rest of the night and enjoy the time with the family while I've got it. Thank you all for your time. If I missed something that you want to know about, send me a note. I'll be happy to answer up for you. Thanks, and you all enjoy your evening.